no fucks left. No, no. I have no fucks, right? Oh, oh. I have no fucks left. No, no. So fuck off. I'm busy. Bye bye. Piss off. Not sorry. Don't cry.
And we're on the air. Welcome, 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 one and all. Greetings and salutations. You're listening to an all-new episode of No Fucks Left, brought to you by me. And that me is Landyn Shaw. So happy to have you here. Welcome to May, the lusty month of May, where flowers bloom, the April showers hopefully are diminished because we've been getting a lot of motherfucking rain lately. But the sounds and smells of summer are right around the corner. You can kind of see them in the distance, ever so buoyantly floating, just teasing us, saying, you made it past 100 days of the MAGA Elon Musk Trump administration. Summer's almost here. And then you can just bask in the sunshine, go swimming, go on vacation, not have to go to school, and go to several protests. Yes. You'll notice that the theme today kind of seems a bit angsty. And there's a reason for that, because that's right.
What's the word?
The word of the day.
What's the word? What will Landyn say? Say the word.
The word of the day today is angst. Angst, a feeling of dread, anxiety, or anguish. Angst, A-N-G-S-T. Used in a sentence, Landyn is feeling angst, or angsty, or angstish. No, Landyn is feeling a bit angsty today, and so Landyn chose angst as the word of the day. So you know what to do. Every time you hear that word, and you might hear it several times, I want you to yell, I want you to scream, I want you to just let all your angst out. Let all that anguish and anxiety that you've been keeping bottled up inside out. Just let it go. Let her rip. It feels good every once in a while to just scream and let it out. And that's what I'm going to be doing a bit today. Oh, it's still going to be positive and upbeat and fun, but there's going to be a little bit of angst on the side with those fries. So you know what to do. That is our word of the day. Have some fun with that. Celebrate this amazing community that we have here. Every time you hear the word angst. Friends, we are just over the 100-day mark of this hellscape that we seem to currently find ourselves in. Some are saying, oh, that went really fast. And I want to say to those people, well, what have you been doing, or where are you that this went really fast? Because I feel like I've literally aged 10 years. Yeah, I definitely feel a bit angsty today. And I think it's a culmination of things. For the most part, I've been doing a pretty good job of really not queuing in each day to the fact that for the most part, things are relatively shitty out there. As you know, if you've listened to the show, I haven't been consuming mainstream news as much as I did the first go run. And that's been very helpful. I read the headlines, I get the important news and stories and what have you, and I kind of process it, and then I move on. And that is how I'm surviving. But every once in a while, you just feel a little bit defeated, or you feel like you gotta cue in now because it's time, and that's kind of where I'm at today. So, as we mentioned in the word of the day, angst is kind of the theme of this episode. But I've introduced some new segments, and I've created some new theme songs to kind of give it a little bit of a jolt, a little lightness. And I'm going to start with some good news.
If you've seen a show, then you already know how magical theater can be. It's a 2-hour live-action, barely affordable, unlip-synced version of Glee. So this song goes out to the rest of you.
Not only is it the month of May, but it also was Tony Award nomination day. For those of us in the musical theater world, and just theater in general, but I predominantly am in love and follow the musicals or the musicals. This is like Christmas. Actually, it's like Thanksgiving, I guess. The Tony Award nomination day is like Thanksgiving, and then the Tony Award presentation and ceremony is like Christmas. I think that's a better metaphor there, or comparison, whatever it is. Anyway, some kind of surprises, obviously, some snubs. I think that's inevitable. That's always going to happen. But here I just want to look at my officially printed list from playbill.com. And in the best musical category, wow, what a category. All those nominees are just so spectacular. Buena Vista Social Club, Dead Outlaw, Death Becomes Her, Maybe Happy Ending, Operation Mincemeat, a new musical. Now, sadly, because I don't live anywhere near the East Coast or New York, I've not seen any of these live. I've seen tons of clips. I naturally have read about them. I've seen, little pieces here and there. I can just tell you that based on all of these, I'm very, very excited and would not, I wouldn't be upset with any of these winning. I know someone's going to win. So it's a good list. It really is. And I want to say universally, I think we've had a really exciting season on Broadway. Still a lot of IP. That is still an issue. Movies and IP, basically. Just a lot of intellectual property. So somewhat of a shortage of original or new ideas. But the original or new ideas, totally original, really broke through in a great way. And just universally, I just thought there was a lot of diversity in the different productions and in the different shows that have either come and sadly already closed or have just recently opened. It's been a very exciting season, and I think that sentiment is shared by everyone. Again, with Best Play too, there's some really exciting ones in there. My personal favorite that I'm kind of secretly rooting for, although it's no secret, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, is Oh Mary. I really just want to see this show be celebrated even more than it has been already. I just think Cole is phenomenal, and it deserves everything under the sun. And that's no slight to any of the other plays. I really am rooting for Oh Mary. And then in the best revival categories, especially best revival of a musical, what I really think is cool about all of these revivals is that each of them made a very conscious choice to revive the show in a whole new way, in a whole new retelling or reimagining, or just really kind of changing it up. And I think, again, that's to be celebrated. Revivals are always great, and they're always going to happen, and they should happen. There are so many good shows. But I love it when they look at it and kind of either through another lens or through casting choices or updated orchestrations and arrangements, it becomes somehow new and fresh. And I think that's true of all these musicals here. The best performance categories are always lovely because everyone should be celebrated. And there's always obviously phenomenal performances. Again, I'm kind of leaning towards Cole Escola for Oh Mary. I would love to see that happen. And in the best performance by an actress in a leading role in a musical category, I think that's the one that's just like jam-packed. I could see it going to any of them. I mean, Audra McDonald with her 11th Tony nomination. She's just the greatest. She is everything to us. We all revere her and celebrate her. And I'm just astounded. It's so exciting. But then this phenomenal performance by Jasmine Amy Rogers as Betty Boop in Boop the Musical. Then everything I have seen and heard and watched and read about Megan Hilty and Jennifer Simard in Death Becomes Her. I mean, again, they carry the entire show. They're both forces of nature just individually, and then you put them together in this great show, and it's a home run. And then, of course, we've all heard that Nicole Scherzinger in Sunset Boulevard, that performance has been spectacular. Again, I've heard clips, I've watched clips, and I've heard her renditions, and yeah, it's jam-packed. There's some amazing talent. I will say I feel a little sorry for Helen J. Shen, who is in Maybe Happy Ending. She's the lead female in that show opposite Darren Criss. That's the show that I've had my eye on since the day it opened. I'm very fascinated by this piece. It's definitely a show that's kind of in my wheelhouse in terms of just tonally and how it pushes kind of the boundaries of musical theater and reinvents it in a whole new way with a whole new story. I'm really fascinated by it. There's several shows I'm really fascinated by. Dead Outlaws, another one. And so I kind of feel bad that, at least from what I've seen with Maybe Happy Ending, it seems like both those actors, Helen and Darren, are what makes that work. And I'm glad to see Darren recognized, and especially Andrew Duran in Dead Outlaw. Because again, that piece just seems so spectacular. The story, everything. I'm very, very excited about that one. And then we move on to Best Book of a Musical. Again, phenomenal nominees, great representation. What always intrigues me too is when you get to scenic design, lighting design, etc. If you've listened to the podcast and heard my interviews, I've spoken with Beowulf Borat, who's a Tony-nominated scenic designer, and he works nonstop. This season he had Smash, which sadly was not nominated. But you know how much work goes into these designs and how long it takes and just the entire process. And so I always marvel when I see an individual or an artist nominated kind of in either multiple categories or in the same category, such is the case with Best Scenic Design of a Musical. You have Derek McLean nominated for Death Becomes Her and Just in Time. And I always think that's very impressive and just astounding. And then there's another artist, let me get through my notes here. Best Sound Design of a Musical, same thing there. You have Peter Hylinski for Just in Time and Maybe Happy Ending. So I think that's absolutely remarkable. So kudos there. Special shout out to Best Sound Design of a Play, Paul Ardetti, Stranger Things, The First Shadow. Again, I have not seen that production yet. I do underline yet. However, I saw the preview for that production on Netflix in that little documentary. And I'm sorry, again, I haven't seen any of the other shows, but I think they should just sweep all of the technical categories in terms of design, implementation. I mean, the effects just look astounding. The team is getting a special Tony, the illusion and technical effects of Stranger Things First Shadow. Jamie Harrison, Chris Fisher, Gary B. Stone, and Edward Pierce are going to get a special Tony, and I think that's remarkable, very well deserved, because just based on the documentary I saw, they have done some outstanding things, and it's to be celebrated. And then Best Direction of a Musical, that is always near and dear to my heart, because that is the category I hope that someday I'm a part of and that I will see my name on. And so again, with all of these names that are listed here, the one thing I don't see any females, sadly. But that said, I'm very impressed with the category and all the nominees and all of those shows, and I'll be excited to see whoever wins. I'm a little surprised, and again, I don't know much about the Tony balloting or how all of that works. I don't pretend to know. I just am kind of a fan when it comes to this. But for Best Orchestrations, I was shocked to see David Cullen and Andrew Lloyd Webber for Sunset Boulevard, only because it's already been on Broadway. And generally, when a show's already been on Broadway, you're very restricted to the categories you can be in, somewhat, obviously. And I was just surprised to see Best Orchestrations there. Now, shows with multiple nominations, I always enjoy looking at this list. You have Buena Vista Social Club with 10, Death Becomes Her with 10, Maybe Happy Ending with 10, Dead Outlaw with 7, John Proctor's The Villain with 7, Sunset Boulevard with 7, and then Hills of California with 7, Floyd Collins 6, and it works its way down. Some of the musicals I was shocked that didn't get more. I thought Boop the Musical would maybe get more. I thought Smash would somehow maybe get some more. I definitely thought Stranger Things Foreshadow would get some more, just universally. But again, I think it was a very competitive season, and I'm thrilled with the nominees. And I think this time of year is always very, very exciting for theater. Can't wait to watch the award ceremony. That's going to be, I'm sure, on CBS. I should have looked it up, but I'm sure you can find it, with Cynthia Erivo as the host. So that is going to be very exciting. Again, that night is always one of my favorites, without a doubt. Wherever I am, I've been fortunate enough in the past to be working at a summer theater where we all kind of just gather and hang out, barbecue, and watch our little Super Bowl or our Christmas Day celebration known as the Tony Awards. So that's what I'm excited about. How about that new theme song, huh? And yes, before we go any further, it is an homage to Jonathan Larson and Rent. So I'm going to do a little rant. Haven't done one of these in a while. Haven't been too political, but again, just given the current state and the environment around me, I just feel I needed to say some things. Now, most recently, I had the pleasure and the privilege of leading a panel discussion at a local university near where I live. I called it the Q-llective Braintrust. And in short, what it was through TRANSPLENDENT Media, my media company that I started. I really wanted to kind of start already doing some activism. If you've listened to the credits, our first production or our first kind of thing that we've been working on as a company, media company, has been this podcast. And there's more podcasts to come, and there's anyone that's talked to me knows that there's many different irons in the fire and many different ways we want to go with this company. But activism is very important to me because at the heart of our company is being a voice and being a safe space for the trans, intersex, and non-binary community, writ large, all over. And then, of course, part of that is then being that same kind of place for every marginalized community and anyone that feels disenfranchised. But specifically, I just saw that there was a need to help my community directly with many different things, from fashion to skincare and healthcare to just programming, and ways that I can make others that feel like me and others in our community feel seen and heard. And because I'm a talker, as we know, I thought the best way to kind of start doing this would be at the college level, getting into the colleges and just getting an idea of what they're experiencing, getting a pulse for what's happening specifically to the trans, intersex, non-binary community, or anyone that identifies as queer. My whole thing, and this certainly is not any kind of radical idea by my part. If anything, I'm finding out that I'm a little behind when it comes to this thinking, but my whole approach to this has been that we're obviously greater when we have the numbers, and the larger we are, the harder it becomes to take us down or tear us down. And so within that kind of LGBTQIA umbrella, you have all these individual communities that have a history of maybe not all necessarily believing that they fit in that huge umbrella. Because like for intersex and trans and that community, they feel like this is purely, well, they don't feel, it's what it is purely gender or gender identity or how you see yourself. Whereas with lesbian, bisexual, gay, as you know, that's your sexual orientation. Who are you attracted to? Who are you inclined to be in love with and date, etc. So, you know, there's always been that kind of friction there in terms of, hey, this is really this and this is really that. But we're all marginalized and we're all disenfranchised. And so strength in numbers. I then started looking at the world through just two lenses of typical and atypical, or typical and then everything else, basically. Because that's really how I kind of have seen the world and seen where I have identified even before I knew what I was and what I was experiencing. I just knew, hey, I'm not typical. I'm not like most of these other people or half these other people or whatever the case may be. And so that's kind of the first indicator I had. And so I like this idea, and again, it's not new and I'm not the inventor of it. I like this idea of trying to pick up even more people into this big tent of, hey, we're the Q party, or we're the queer party, or we're the Q coalition, whatever the case may be. I happen to call it, for this panel discussion, the Q-lective. And that's obviously just for branding purposes. And then I wanted a brain trust, and that word, a lot of thought went into that as far as an exchange of ideas and a way to start discussion and relate with one another. So I hosted the Q-lective Braintrust, and we had amazing participation. I was so pleased with how it went, and just I need to give a special shout out to our intern, Ryan BALMER, who helped coordinate so many aspects of this, pretty much did 95% of everything in terms of just getting the word out and helping me with promotion and graphic design. And we're so lucky to have Ryan. And I need to give a special shout out to, because Ryan's about to graduate college in just basically a week or 2 weeks. And I'm so proud of him. And I know he is going to go very far and accomplish so much. And my rant here, or kind of my angsty feeling, is because Ryan means so much to me, and so does that generation. I have a stepdaughter who's 21 years of age. So I'm going to be talking about that kind of demographic or that age range of 18 to, let's say, 23. And this is predominantly what I'm about to say for my fellow Gen Xers or whatever generation is below me. I don't know, like 30s, 40s, etc. Basically, if you're an adult under the age of 60 and over the age of, let's say, 30, I'm speaking to you right now. So at this panel discussion, we had members of my community, all college age, ranging from freshmen to even a master's, grad student. And I asked them a series of questions. I'm not going to necessarily get into that, but I do want to share with you some of the answers or just some of the revelations I made that I was very sad by. One was that they all remarked individually that they feel powerless, that they either don't engage in politics or news, or they did engage in politics and news and just either way felt powerless. That path and that kind of research and paying attention and sharing of ideas, etc., has led to them feeling powerless. And that really stuck with me and really made me quite sad to hear that, because I immediately thought of myself at that age, being in college, where I actually felt like I couldn't wait to get out of college. I had the entire world before me, and I was so eager and so ambitious and energetic, and I had such hope. And that's what these young, amazing, brilliant human beings should be feeling. They should be feeling hopeful. They should be feeling optimistic. They should be feeling like there's so much ahead of them. And they don't feel that way. And that's not right. That's not right. Because these kids are going into the workforce, and they're going to be the future leaders, and they're going to be the future CEOs and leaders of industry, and they're going to pay for us in terms of Social Security and everything else. And I know many of you are saying, but wait a minute, there's no guarantee that Social Security is going to be there. It better damn well be there. Because we've all been motherfucking paying into that for a very long time. So nothing is going to piss off my generation more than if you try to tell us when we come of retirement age that there's nothing there. That's going to be a whole nother issue. But let's just pretend that it is going to be there and the system is working the way it should. That group are the ones that are going to be paying for us. And they're not going to feel any kind of sense of caring or guardianship or being of help to us or assistance if we don't assist them, if we don't think about them, if we don't open up our hearts and our minds and our humanity to them. And I'm not saying they all feel this way, obviously, but I'm saying specifically with this group that I spoke to, granted, they're all identifying as being a member of my community in some way, shape, or form. There's just so much despair, and I really want to do everything I can to help them. And I'm, again, calling upon all of you that are in that age group that I said, to be more tuned in and to just maybe go the extra mile. And if you're in a position where you can reach out to someone in some way, shape, or form of that younger generation and just talk to them. We have to remember they're all kids that were greatly impacted by COVID and the pandemic. My daughter, for example, missed most of her third year of high school and I think almost all of her fourth year. I'm not sure. It's kind of a blur. And there was a lot going on. But I mean, she was greatly impacted. Her graduation was at an old mall that they converted kind of into this outdoor amphitheater in the parking lot that they then showed drive-in movies and stuff. I mean, it was all great, and everyone did what they could to make up for everything that was happening during that time. But they are going to be forever impacted by what that entire experience was. From a socialization standpoint, they missed out on so much. And now they're graduating college and they're just feeling so overwhelmed and they're feeling powerless. And it's just not right. And we've got to do better, and we've got to be better. The other things they shared with me are that they, because of missing due to the pandemic and missing out on that socialization aspect, they don't have community. They don't get together, or at least know how to necessarily get together and just talk and exchange ideas and rely on one another and have face-to-face conversations. In case any of them are listening, I don't want to embarrass them by this, what I'm about to say, but the one thing I noticed, and I ended up talking to my wife, the professor, about, because she's a teacher, is that I noticed throughout the entire discussion, each of them were moving nonstop, like their legs, they would be bouncing their legs up and down, or they were just constantly moving. It just seemed very anxious. And that's exactly what my wife told me was happening, was that there's just so much anxiety there. And again, because of COVID, that year and a half that if they were working online, or they didn't have school for whatever reason during that time, and however their schooling was set up, they weren't relating to one another in a way that we all know is necessary. They were forced to kind of set up their classroom or their desk or their area wherever they could within their house. If it was a family with 5 or 6 kids, let's say, all of them in school, well, they're probably having school in all these different rooms if they're doing it online, which again is something my wife pointed out to me. They, were sitting on their bed, or they were sitting in a closet, she said, or they were basically finding space wherever they could. And that gave them freedom to move, or that gave them freedom to kind of not have to be in a desk, which then became a part of them, basically. And she said she's seeing it even with her students at school now. There's just always kind of fidgeting or moving or what have you. And again, that was just so wild to see, because I instantly thought about how are they going to function in possibly a workplace or an environment where that could be distracting, or that could be not something that works. I don't know. I feel very hopeful. Like, the sense I got from all of them was that they're aware of what is happening, and they're aware of what each of them has to do. In one case, one of them had with their family a plan, like if shit goes south, what are they going to do as a family? And I totally understood that and respected that, and was excited to hear that, because that means that they're thinking. And all of them, had a plan, which was really good. And I learned from them, and in regards to what I should be thinking about when it comes to that. But I just really got the sense, when all was said and done, that we, us adults, need to do a better job of reaching out to them and being extra patient and giving them extra grace, and really understanding that things are messed up for them. especially when they identify as a member of the queer community in whatever that background might be. They have the pressures of social media. They have the pressures of knowing that unless they're in a very specialized career right now, the job market is going to be very, very difficult. And they know that the housing market is ridiculous. There's no chance they're going to own a home, at least not in the next 10 years. So they're going to be more or less living at home or living in some kind of situation that's very affordable and most likely won't give them their own space or their own way to escape. And they've missed out on very important time of formative years and meaningful milestones and celebrations that they totally missed out on. And then depending on where they go to college right now or what's happening with the government in that college, that they're stressed that they never even asked for. If they're going to a school that's constantly in the news, and in the midst of a fight with the administration right now, or their funding is being threatened, which means that quality of education is now being hampered and interfered with. And we know that most of these kids are already graduating with so much debt that they're never going to be able to afford to pay. And now we're messing with their quality of education, and we're messing with their instruction and possibly the funding that's going to be available to them. I just don't see how this is a win. And I know it's difficult that in the midst of everything that we're dealing with to just kind of focus on one group of people, but that's a lot of people. that age right there, that 18 to 22, 23, that's a lot of people. And the lives that their personal lives and personal experiences can impact as far as their siblings and their partners and their family, their parents and their just everyone, that then begins to expand how many people are being impacted by this. And so I have a call to action. My call to action is, again, for everyone between the ages of 30 and beyond, even the folks older than me that possibly listen to this podcast. We all need to do a better job with that age group and those amazing human beings that need us. And I'm going to continue to do what I can. I'm going to continue to find ways to have a dialogue. And I want to bring my program of the Q-llective Braintrust to all colleges everywhere. So if you're listening to this right now and you feel that your college has let you down in terms of the different organizations or the different kinds of activities or programs that are available to you, and if you identify as being in a marginalized community or you feel disenfranchised and you need community, please reach out to me through this show. And I will do everything in my power to bring my platform and my resources to you. Because even if you're not identifying as someone in the Q community or the Q-lective community, I still feel you're getting shortchanged for all those reasons that I just talked about. Like I said, I have a 21-year-old daughter. I've seen what she went through, and I've seen how hard my wife worked and jumped in to not only make sure she graduated, but then to make sure that she was set up for success. And that was a lot of work, and that was a lot of time. And I know that every parent is doing that, or most are. And that's what's being asked of us right now as parents. We all experience that. pandemic together. At least it was a shared time for us. But now that life has moved on beyond the pandemic and everyone has new worries and new things to kind of keep their eyes on, meanwhile, that age group and those precious kids still need so much more. And they're missing so much more. And like I said, in some instances, they know that and they know how to ask for it, or they at least know what's missing and they're trying to find it. Earnestly, they're trying to find it. I heard that. I saw that. But in some instances, they don't even know what they're missing because this world is just going so fast. So my plea, my call to action, my hope is that collectively we can do a better job of reaching out to them and helping them and inspiring them and leading them, knowing that they are the future. And I'm not worried about them. They're very intuitive and they're very aware. They're very plugged in amazing ways. They're so advanced in so many things that we can't even begin to understand because of how they've grown up and because of innovation and technology and everything. But at the same time, we also know these things have corrupted them and have not always been of usefulness to them, I often say, and my wife and I joke, that if there's a power outage, I really worry about them. God forbid, because everything is on that phone. Everything is on that device. They don't know how to read maps. They don't know, there's some adults that don't know how to read maps. But I was so glad I did this. And again, to those participants, thank you, thank you, thank you. You have no idea what your time and your thoughts and just everything you share with me means, because I really am trying to funnel my angst and my anxiety and despair into good. I'm trying to, because much like them, I feel powerless. I'm trying to have control over what I can control. And that is at least my life raft right now. That's what's keeping me afloat, is knowing that I can give back, or knowing that I have a purpose. I can do something right now. And so this is what I'm doing. I want everyone to reach out to anyone in your life that's under the age of 21 and check in on them. See how they're doing. Celebrate their successes. Ask them if they need anything. Guide them. Force them to talk. I know it's so easy to try to start a conversation and see them kind of drift onto their phone, but I promise you, they want to connect. It's just a matter of figuring out how they can do that most comfortably and still hang on to them. And that's the important thing. And that was the thing I left inspired by, is that they have more of a sense of who they are at this age than I ever did, clearly. And that was remarkable to see too. They know who they are, and they own it, and they're proud of it. And they're ready to move forward in the world with that. But the world needs to meet them way more than halfway. Okay? So let's do better. Let's be better. And help me grow this ability to truly reach out to this generation and be what those older than me were. We had the greatest generation. We had our grandparents. We had elders who went through so much and could really put things in perspective for us and really, as much as we maybe didn't want to hear it when we were their age, we did hear it, and we've been immersed in that, and we learned from them. And now It's our turn. Okay?
London must fucking rain.
I'm obsessed, totally obsessed, obsessively obsessed. You'll never guess what makes me obsessed. Landyn's obsessive list. Landyn's obsessive list. Landyn's obsessive list.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. As I told you, this episode has a theme of angstiness and anxiousness through it, and I thank you for that. So, of course, I needed to end on an up note. So I wanted to share with all of you what I've been recently obsessed with. And this is more than just love. As you know, if you've listened to the show, I've done in the past segments of Landyn's love list or list of loves. This is my obsessed list, what I'm obsessed with. So, in no particular order, every plate. I know I've talked about it before, but every plate has turned me into, I'm not going to say I'm the greatest chef in the world by any stretch, but I'm a pretty darn good cook now, and I am enjoying everything that I create. My wife is enjoying everything I create, and it's inspired me in so many ways. I want to learn baking, and I want to make desserts, and I love cooking. I love that it's, at least to me, very artistic and very romantic in terms of me being able to prepare a meal for my wife and giving her the pleasure of food and all these great dishes. So every plate, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is, again, our latest obsession, my wife's and mine, You on Netflix. We just literally finished season 5 tonight, and it was phenomenal. It was a great season. Great way for the show to end. I thought it was fantastic. Every season did not disappoint. Great, great show. Another obsession of mine in the entertainment TV world is MLB Central on the MLB network. I record 3 shows on my DVR or cloud or whatever the fuck it is. Saturday Night Live, The Daily Show, and MLB Central. Oh, and Homestead Rescue. Sorry, 4 shows. I love MLB Central. I think it is one of the greatest shows in terms of just entertainment for sports themed content. I love the host. I love all the segments. I'm obsessed with it. And if you haven't seen it and you love baseball, what have you been doing? You need to watch MLB Central. You must. And then one more baseball theme, The Clubhouse on Netflix. I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but it's an 8-part documentary about the Boston Red Sox. It's so good. I've referred back to it several times in different conversations and thoughts, and it's really well done, and it does many things for you as an audience member on many different levels. So I highly recommend that. I'm obsessed with gardening, and again, my wife and I both are. We are happily growing seedlings, and I have finished a lot of the work in giving us raised garden beds with an enclosure to protect against the wildlife. And I followed all the steps from Misty Rayner from Homestead Rescue and how to make my garden beds absolutely perfect. We're so excited. If this weekend we actually have no rain and there's a window of time, we're going to transplant the seedlings into our garden. And we're very excited. We can't wait. I can't wait to grow our own vegetables and then cook them. It's very exciting. Again, in entertainment world, I've listened now to a few episodes of Amy Poehler's new podcast. It's called Good Hang. I love Amy Poehler. I love podcasts. I am obsessed with her new podcast. It has an amazing format. I love the theme song. I love kind of her segments or her kind of way of doing it. Like she has a guest on, but she interviews friends or other celebrities and specifically asks them to give her questions or give her comments or share their thoughts about the guests. So, for example, she had Martin Short on. She talked to Tina Fey, Colin Jost, and Maya Rudolph about Martin Short and asked them, you know, what should I ask him? And I loved it. I thought it was very clever. I think Amy is remarkable. She's a remarkable talent and personality. And you leave feeling good listening to her show. Another obsession of mine is I just bought on Amazon a couple of weeks ago these cargo pant joggers that, oh my God, are so comfortable. They have pockets. They're very flattering. And I love them so much. I've now bought 2 more pair in 2 more different colors. So I have black. I have this really kind of very cute pink that I can't wait to wear. And then like a gray green kind of color. But oh my God. And here's the best part. They're $19.99. $19.99. They're 10% spandex, I think. And it's like a poly cotton kind of blend. But they feel amazing. They're waterproof and they look great. So I'm obsessed with those cargo pant joggers. And then I'm naturally obsessed with my dog, ZuZu. As a matter of fact, on MLB Central this morning, they talked about how one of the hosts and then several baseball players kind of make out with their dogs, basically, allow their dogs to kiss them and lick them, etc., and they do it back. And Mark DeRosa said, I don't want to meet the person who doesn't allow their dogs to do that to them. Like, you know, it's just essential. And I agree. I don't want to meet the person that doesn't do that either. So, and I think of that because, again, ZuZu, my sweet, lovely dog, has been getting me through all of these rough patches so much. And she's just a joy. And I'm totally obsessed with her. I think about her all the time. I just love her. And if you love pets and you don't have a pet in your life, I can't stress how much a pet will change your life right now. Like I said, you know, in order for me to get through everything that I'm getting through, the fact that I have her unconditional love, obviously in addition to my family and everything else, but it's just extra special. You know how that love with a pet is. And then the final obsession I have, and I'll leave on this note, is that for the last several weeks, I've been very obsessive about my future and looking forward to it and what does that look like, and literally having visions of like my wife and I on a red carpet. And I had a vision today of me being at the Tonys at the whatever ceremony they have prior to the award ceremony, where it's just for the nominees. Like, I've been having all these amazing visions, and I'm relieved because these used to be the kinds of things I would see as a kid and as a teenager and as starting out in my career. I've always had this like kind of belief, and this might sound weird, but I'm meaning it earnestly, that I was always destined for something big, like, you know, I dare say greatness. And I've held that belief. And along the way, I then found out I was intersex, and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and I fractured 2 vertebrae and was told I wouldn't walk again. And every time I kind of bounced back even better than I was prior to whatever that news was. It just gave me the sense that, yeah, like, you're on the path. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. And I just feel, again, with everything that I've been going through in terms of my transformation and really being more vocal and more visible and kind of building my brand, that I really can kind of see that this leads to a world that I'm very happy in if everything goes according to plan. And it's a world that I so badly want to provide my wife and my family the ability to participate in, success and true happiness, and feeling like my art is making a difference, and feeling like I actually have a legacy, and feeling like each day something that I'm doing is moving the needle. And those are the things I'm really focused on right now. And so I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with many things that act as a distraction and make my day better and brighter and filled with so much joy. And I should also put on that obsessed list you, the audience. That's why I continue to do what I do, and it's why I continue to take so much pride and so much care in every little detail of this show, because of you. And I thank you for that. And I think that's about it for now.
Fucks left. No, no, I have no fucks, right? Oh, oh, I have no fucks left. No, no, so fuck off. I'm busy. Bye, bye. Piss off. Not sorry.
That's all, folks.
The fucking machine is out.
Oh, just ending on a very goofy, fun note. And with that, that's the end of the show. Let's see, what did we learn? We learned that this season on Broadway has been spectacular. Congrats once again to all Tony nominees. We learned that I'm obsessed about many, many things, and that my Cubs are in first place. Woohoo! And we learned that we gotta do more for those wonderful college kids that are around us or that aren't necessarily in our orbit, but we need to find them and we need to help them. And we also need to look out for each other, look out for yourselves, and always, say it with me, lead with love. And that's it. Take care.
Right?
See you next week.
Oh, oh, I have no fucks left. No, no, so fuck off. I'm busy. Bye.
No Fucks Left is a presentation of Transplendent Media. The host and creator is Landyn Shaw. Logo and graphic design by WALLY SPENCE. Our intern and project manager is Ryan BALMER. If you'd like to interact or connect with the show, be sure to visit our website at nofucksleftpod.com. That's nofucksleftpod.com. As always, you can always click on any of the links in the program notes to find out more information about the show, Landyn, and our guests. Thanks.